it's Thomasina. Welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, thanks for tuning in. My name is Thomasina and I'm a model and content creator, among other things, based in New York City. And on my channel, I give you the tips and tricks that you need to get started in your modeling career. We are finally back with another modeling Q&A. I get hundreds of DMs, I'm not even exaggerating, hundreds of DMs from mostly young ladies asking me questions about how to get into the modeling industry, if their portfolio looks good, if their digitals are good, if this agency is legit, just so many questions under the sun. And so I love doing a deep dive and doing these modeling Q&As so I can compile all those questions and just put them into one video for you guys. Now, just as a disclaimer, when you slide into my DMs and you ask specific questions about your specific modeling journey, like say for instance you're submitting to all these agencies and you don't think you think your digitals may be the problem and you want me to do a deep dive and actually review your digitals, those types of questions may be best for one-on-one consultation. So I do offer one-on-one model coaching, and if you have questions about that, literally just slide in my DMs. Some of you who watch my channel have slid in my DMs already, and we've talked about what my one-on-one model coaching looks like. So if that sounds like you, if you want just a little bit more hand-holding in your career, which is something I wish I had when I first started, but if that's something you feel you need, just slide into my DMs and we can talk about what that would look like for you. But outside of that, if you just have general one-off questions, that is what these modeling Q&A videos are for. So I made a post on my YouTube channel and you guys came in heavy this time with the questions. I'm so happy because sometimes I ask, what you guys want to know, what you guys want to learn about, and it's like crickets. And I'm like, okay, so nobody wants to be a model anymore? That's cool. I'll just take all the jobs for myself. Let's jump right into it. The first question is, if you're a college student and a model, how does your schedule work? I think I actually have a YouTube video on this already. It is under the modeling playlist, and I think it is like how to model while you're in school, something like that. I will link it up here. But the short and sweet answer to that is I always made sure I was a straight A student. I was a 4.0 student. I always turned in my assignments early. When I was in class, I was very active in class. That way I could build a solid relationship with my professors so that if I needed to miss, 2 or 3 days of class to fly to New York for work, I had already built that rapport with my professors and they knew that I was modeling on the side. So we kind of had that understanding that like, if I'm participating in class when I'm here, if my assignments are always done on time or early, missing 2 or 3 days of school, won't be that big of a deal. Granted, not all professors will be this lenient, but I find that it is easier to maintain the balance of school and modeling if you develop a good relationship with your teachers and your professors, and if you are just transparent from the get-go, like, hey, I have this job on the side that requires me to travel from time to time. This is how I pay for school, and it's also a passion of mine. This is the reality of filming in New York City. Oh, this is a great question. So this person asked, do you have to live in the same city as your modeling agency? And does it affect your chances of getting signed if you're like 2 hours away from that agency? So no, you do not have to live in the same city as your agency. For example, I'm signed in Sydney, Australia. I live in America. Now, the goal is to either get direct bookings through this agency, meaning you don't have to live there, but if a client sees your photo on the agency's website and they're like, oh, I like her, we want to work with her, we're willing to pay for her travel and accommodations if she can come fly and work this job for us. So the goal is to get either direct bookings or to go on stay, which basically means you will travel to that city and live there for up to 3 or 4 months and work there and then maybe go on to your next destination. So to answer your question, no, you do not have to live in the city that your agency is in, but the idea is, and the goal is, to be able to spend some time working in that market. Or getting direct bookings to fly you out to that market. Now, if you're like 2 hours away, that's not that big of a deal. Just tell your agency to submit you to all the local jobs and maybe you'll get something that's closer to you. But if you're gonna be in this industry, driving 2 hours away is really not that big of a deal. Like, you have girls like me, like literally flying on the whole other opposite side of the world to work. So if you're like 2 hours away from your agency, Again, not that big of a deal. I actually have that scenario. So when I am in North Carolina, I do have a North Carolina agency, and that agency is about an hour and a half to 2 hour drive. And so I made it a priority to drive the 2 hours to meet my agency in person, just so they could put a face to the name. I could build some rapport, get to know them a little bit. That's not to say I'm driving to the agency every single day. You guys do not have to go see your agents in person that often, but this industry is a lot about relationship building. So if you're like 2 hours away, it's definitely worth it to go drive in and meet your agency, but most of the time they're going to be submitting you to jobs that are kind of like scattered all over. There was another part of the question: does it affect your chances of getting signed if you're like 2 hours away? No, as long as you're willing to travel. Someone asked, is it a good idea to wear a wig in photographs in your modeling portfolio? This is a really great question, because as someone who is bald, it's easy for me to just present how I always look. However, I'm actually flying out for a job next week where they actually want me to wear a wig for the booking. They're providing the wig, they're gonna do it on set. But that was so interesting to me because that is the first job I've ever worked in my 10 years of modeling where they actually requested me wear a wig. So getting back to this question, is it a good idea to wear wigs in your photographs? So it depends on how you look on a day-to-day basis. If you wear a wig on a day-to-day basis, then that is what you should look like in your portfolio. If you feel like you look the best in your wig, then that is what you should showcase in your portfolio. Granted, when you are trying to get signed by agencies, they're likely gonna ask, like, what does your natural hair look like, just in case a client would prefer natural hair. But if 99.9% of the time you're in a wig, then yes, you should showcase that in your portfolio. Granted, you need to understand the right type of wig. So that means you need to study the market, you need to study advertisements, and you need to see what types of wigs other models that look like you are wearing. So if you look at Target ads, even like Neiman Marcus ads, Kohl's, Walmart, all of these brands, these places that we shop, if you look at their models, there's a specific type of wig that these models usually tend to wear. You're not seeing the 45-inch bust down with all the big baby hairs and all that stuff. You're not seeing that on advertisements. So if you're gonna wear wigs and if you're gonna showcase the wigs in your portfolio, just make sure it is the right type of wig that clients would actually want to book you for. This is such a good question, and it kind of hurt my heart when I read it because I think a lot of people that come to me for modeling advice feel this way, and I've never been one to sugarcoat what it's like working in this industry. You guys know, when you come to my channel, when you come to my Instagram page, I'm gonna give you the real deal, and I say it with love, but it is, you know, honesty. A lot of people like to, you know, gatekeep and kind of like tiptoe around the answer to the question, but I'm gonna give it to you straight up. So with that being said, this person asked, how do you not give up during tough times / rejection in the industry? And was there ever a time within your current, or maybe the beginning or even recently, where you felt like giving up and taking a different path? Let me just say, this career as a model is not for the faint of heart. You are literally choosing a career that is like 90% rejection. You're choosing a career where you get rejected and told no and get doors closed in your face every single day. So over time, that's gonna build tough skin, but when you're just starting out, that can be really hard to go through. So it's kind of like a form of exposure therapy. So to answer your question of how to not give up, you have to want it so bad that you could get the door closed in your face 50 million times and you're just gonna go build another door. You're just gonna go build another entrance. You have to want it so bad. I remember when I first started out, I started out when I was like 13, 14, but I really started going to castings and stuff when I was maybe like 15, 16. And my mom was always taking me to all these castings and I was never getting booked. All the other girls were getting picked because I was a little bit shorter. I would cry after every audition where I got rejected. And I remember on one of the last runway auditions my mom took me to, I cried again and she was like, if you cry the next time I take you to an audition and you're not selected, you're done. You need to build some tougher skin and get over it and move on to the next one. If you cry the next time, we're done. And y'all, I ain't never sucked up tears so fast in my life. I don't think I've ever cried again since that day. So I say all that to say it was something that I wanted so bad that getting rejected over and over again didn't really deter me from still pursuing my dreams. I was spitting too much fire, my camera overheated, but anyways, I was saying basically, yes, there have been times where I felt bad about myself or bad about the way my career was going, but I don't think there was ever a moment where I wanted to give up per se, because I knew it was already written. I knew I was going to be a successful model. I knew my time was going to come. I just knew it was going to take some time. I applied to Wilhelmina Models like 50 million times before they finally offered me a contract, but I never stopped because I knew I was destined to be signed to a bigger agency. A lot of people come to me for modeling advice with one foot in and one foot out. Modeling is not a career where you can have one foot in and one foot out. At least you can have a successful career that way. So if you really want to be a successful model, your whole body's got to be in it. Another way to help with this is just surround yourself with people who are going through the same thing that you are. Like when I first started out, I didn't have a lot of friends actually working within the modeling industry, and it really helped once I started growing my community of other girls that were going through the same thing that I was going through, that were going through the same rejections, that had the same experience with other agencies, that had the same experience with other photographers, and we could talk about like, oh, last month was really slow and now I'm booking work a lot and then next month's gonna be really slow. And just having someone to talk through those experiences with really helps, because you can support each other when you have your slow seasons, when you've been rejected by like 15 agencies, when this photographer says something weird to you, when you feel like you're being discriminated against. You just always have someone else that is going through the same thing. So I would say, you know, make sure it's something that you really want, and also start building your community of like-minded individuals that are also in the modeling industry and can kind of attest and share those same experiences. Another question, what type of pictures should I be prepared to show and send to modeling agencies? I also have a video on this, on how to build your modeling portfolio. But basically when you're just starting out and you're submitting to agencies, they only want to see your digitals, and most agencies will show you what type of digitals they want on their actual website. So just look at the website and look at the examples of the photos they are literally telling you to submit, and submit those. Those are the only photos that you're gonna need. When you get a little deeper into your career, and let's say you've already signed with one agency and you're looking for another agency, the deeper you get into your career, they're gonna wanna see your previous modeling work. So anything that you've booked with clients, any like professional shoots that you've done, any test shoots. So when you have an agency, most of the time they will just pick the best images from your portfolio to showcase in your like marketing materials, so it'll be easier that way once you have an agency. But if you don't have an agency, literally just pick the photos that you feel best represent the type of model that you want to be. So if you want to be a more commercial model, then do commercial test shoots. If you want to be a high fashion editorial model, then do more high fashion editorial photo shoots. If you want to be a more sport and fitness model, do a lot of fitness test shoots showcasing the types of sports that you are best at. So I don't know, bear with me if the color grading is a little bit different now since I am recording on my iPhone, but let's jump right into it. This is a really good question, and I've never actually been asked this before. How should you pace yourself as a beginner instead of becoming burnt out? I think this is a good question because a lot of models don't focus on getting burnt out because your work is it fluctuates so much. Like you could be working all of June and then in July you don't even book one job. So I think I can speak for most models when I say we take what we can get. We work all the jobs that we can book. And then for me, I love modeling so much that I rarely get burnt out. So I think this is a very individualistic question. However, if you feel like you're getting burnt out, the nice thing about being a model is that you can turn down any jobs that you don't want to do. However, don't make a habit out of it, because then your agents might just drop you, or they'll blacklist you, or they just won't like you. So if you feel like you're starting to feel a little bit burnt out, if you're represented by an agency, literally just book out. Book out is the same as taking PTO or taking a vacation. If you have like a regular like W-2 or corporate job, you literally just email your agents like, hey, I'm taking this week off or taking these dates off through these dates, and they won't submit you to any jobs during that time. So that gives you some time to rest and like focus on what you want to do. What to expect after hearing back from a modeling agency. So there are a couple of responses you can get from a modeling industry. Number one, they can say, if they even respond to you, they can say, hey, we're not interested. We don't think you're the right fit for our agency. Good luck out there. That's one. The second one is, hi, thank you for submitting to us. We would like to request a meeting. So typically post-COVID, these are virtual meetings. They like to just meet you via Zoom to get a feel of your personality, see what you look like in person, and kind of get a better understanding of what your career has been like. And from there, they'll tell you, we're interested, or you just won't hear from them again, which means they're not interested. But that's typically the next step. If you have the meeting and they are interested in representing you, then they will send you a contract. You read over the contract. If you have any questions, you relay those questions to the agency, and it's kind of like a back and forth thing until the contract is signed and you're officially represented. Then from there, maybe they'll set you up with some test shoots if you need some portfolio development. But then from there, they'll just start submitting you to work, and hopefully you get booked. So that's kind of like what to expect once you hear back from an agency. Someone said, I've always wanted to be a model, but I struggle with feeling really overwhelmed or like I'm not special enough to become one. Any advice? This is deep-rooted self-talk. So the number one thing, this might be like something to address in therapy. You need to have so much self-confidence in the modeling industry, because if you don't, you will fall victim to the drugs, to maybe being taken advantage of. You will just fall victim to so much negativity in this industry because you think you are not good enough and you think you deserve those types of negative experiences. So you definitely have to build up your confidence and your positive self-talk before diving into this industry. And that's something you are going to have to, maybe seek additional help for. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I think therapy is so great and so beneficial, and probably we should all be doing therapy. But yeah, you have to work on building your confidence. So if you struggle with feeling overwhelmed and feeling like you're not special enough, you have to figure out why you feel that way. Is this something you've been told as you've been growing up? Is this something the media is telling you? What are you consuming? What are you listening to? What are you exposing yourself to on a daily basis? Literally start off, if you don't want to dive straight into therapy, just start off with positive self-talk, journaling every morning, positive affirmations, putting little sticky notes or writing little messages on your mirror to let you know you are the baddest, you are special, you are the most beautiful person you've ever seen in your life, you are the smartest person in your life. Like, just speak positive affirmations over your life, and hopefully you'll tell yourself that enough times to where you actually start to believe it, and that will reflect from the inside out, and then you will feel more confident pursuing a career in modeling. But I can't say you will have much success in the modeling industry if you don't tackle that first. Another question, if you don't have an agency, how can you start by yourself? What would be the first steps? The first steps, obviously, have your digitals. Every aspiring model should have your digitals. That is like the number one thing that you should have, because how will people know what you look like if you don't have just a clean slate of digitals? And what you can do is sign up for certain casting platforms like Actors Access, casting networks. I think there's an app called New Book, Backstage. Also follow like local casting directors in your area. So you could just go on Instagram and search like NYC castings, Brooklyn castings, Long Island castings. If you're in North Carolina, Raleigh castings, Charlotte castings, Greensboro castings. Just search those hashtags on Instagram and start to follow all those people that are connected with those castings and connected to those casting directors. And that is how you can get more access to jobs without having an agency. Oh, okay, this is a good one. Facial structures or features you see thrive or struggle getting into the industry. I would say if you have serious cystic acne, you are going to struggle getting into the industry. There are specific clients that are looking for people with acne, but those jobs are like far and few in between. So if you're looking to be consistently booked, you got to clear that skin up. When I first started, I struggled with acne and I just was not booking a lot of work because more retouching equals more money that these clients have to spend, and why spend more money on you if they could just find another model that kind of looks like you but has clear skin. So best bet is just to clear your skin. Granted, not saying you cannot work, if you have acne, because I have worked with my acne, but I can tell you 100% I book more work now that my skin is clear. So that is one feature I think will cause you to struggle a little bit more in the industry than you have to. There are a lot of facial structures and features that are more marketable in this industry, especially nowadays. They are trying to cast more relatable people, more real people, depending on what facet of the industry that you're in. Like high fashion and editorial will always be the very dramatic, the very model-esque features, the very unattainable beauty features. And then if you're a commercial model, they want those everyday looks where I wouldn't be able to look at you and be like, oh, you're definitely a model. Like you just look like an everyday pretty person. So it really just depends on what sector of the industry you're gonna be in, but there definitely are certain features and certain face and body structures that are more appealing to agencies and clients versus not. Whew, I feel like I've been talking for 3 hours straight. So we're gonna close it out with this last question. I know I have a lot of people that are under the age of 18 that watch my channel, so do not worry, I did not forget about you guys. Someone asked, I'm 14 and I want to become a model. The only thing is I'm worried about how to tell my parents. Will they let me model? How do I tell them? This is a great question. I started modeling when I was around 13, 14. Thankfully, it was my mom's idea for me to pursue modeling in the first place, so I automatically had her support. However, my parents did make it very clear that they wanted me to go to university and get a degree before really like going full force in the modeling industry. So that was a requirement that my parents did have of me. Now, if you are younger, like say 13, 14, and you want to pursue modeling, just ask your parents. Worst case scenario, you have that conversation with them and they say no. You just wait 4 more years until you turn 18 and go pursue your dreams. But let's say you want to have that conversation with them. Just say, if you see a commercial one day, you guys are watching TV together and you see a commercial, or you're out shopping at Walmart and you see an advertisement, you just go, Mom, Dad, I think I could do that. Like, wouldn't it be so cool if I was on this commercial? Or wouldn't it be so cool if I was on this advertisement? And kind of see how they respond to that. Then that opens up the conversation of you saying like, I think I would actually want to do this for work. Like I could make some money as, you know, a 13-year-old, 14-year-old, save this money for maybe school down the line. If your parents really want you to go to school, just throw that in there like, hey, I can help pay for college. So just kind of ease into the conversation like that to get a pulse check on how they would feel about you modeling in general. But if you are under the age of 18, you will 100% need parental consent to do anything. If you want to get signed to an agency, if you want to work a job, if you want to shoot with a photographer, you will 100% need parental consent. Even if you want to work with me, I work with some models. Some of my clients are under the age of 18 and I always get their parents' consent. A lot of times their parents are also on the coaching calls with me. The parents come to the photo shoots with us. So yeah, if you're under the age of 18, you just will have to have that parental consent. Whew! I think I got to most of your questions. I hope you guys found this video helpful and informative. We will definitely be doing more. I'm thinking maybe like once a month or once every 2 months, we will do a sit down Q&A so that I can make sure you guys are getting all the information you feel that you need to jumpstart your modeling career. Again, if you feel like you need some more hand holding, which is totally okay. It's something I wish I had when I first started modeling. But if you feel like you need that one-on-one support, someone to hold your hand through the process, definitely consider working with me on a one-on-one basis. And if you want more information on what my coaching sessions look like, just slide in my DMs, guys. I may not respond in the next like 5 minutes, but I promise I will respond every time. And if you're not already subscribed, it would mean the world to me if you gave this video a big thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, and stay tuned for all the other shenanigans I have for you guys. Bye.